The sprawling, meticulously planned community of Oakhaven Pines was a testament to order. From the perfectly manicured lawns, each a shade of emerald green dictated by the HOA bylaws, to the precisely spaced ornamental shrubs, every element whispered of control. Margaret Finch, the self-appointed guardian of Oakhaven's aesthetic purity and the undisputed president of the Homeowners Association, surveyed her domain from the elevated porch of her colonial-style home, a crisp white structure that reflected her own unyielding personality. Margaret, a woman whose life revolved around the proper placement of garden gnomes and the timely removal of fallen leaves, held the Oakhaven Pines Architectural and Landscaping Guidelines Manual as if it were a sacred text. She dedicated her life to upholding the standards of the community, a task she considered a sacred duty. Her husband, Arthur, a man who preferred the chaotic beauty of a wildflower meadow to the rigid geometry of a rose garden, had long ago resigned himself to her iron-fisted rule. He'd learned to prune his opinions along with the hedges, a silent observer in the meticulously curated theater of their life. The tranquility of Oakhaven Pines, however, was about to be shattered. A new family, the Devises, had moved into the vacant lot at the end of Sycamore Lane, a property that had remained stubbornly empty for years. The Devises, unlike the other residents, possessed a spirit that defied categorization, a wildness that threatened to unravel the carefully woven fabric of Oakhaven's conformity. Their first transgression was the color of their house. Instead of the approved palette of muted beiges, soft grays and gentle creams, they painted their two-story home a vibrant, unapologetic teal. It was a color that screamed individuality, a defiant splash of personality against the monotonous backdrop of Oakhaven's uniformity. The Teal House was a declaration of war, a gauntlet thrown down before Margaret Finch and her army of meticulously organized residents. The next morning, a letter, typed in Margaret's precise, unwavering font, was delivered to the Davises' doorstep. It detailed the specific violation, citing Section 3.2, subsection C of the Architectural Guidelines, which clearly stated that exterior paint colors must adhere to the approved Oakhaven Pines palette. Sarah Davis, a woman with a laugh as bright as her Teal House, read the letter with a bemused expression. She'd expected some pushback, but the sheer volume of bureaucratic jargon was almost comical. She crumpled the letter, tossed it into the recycling bin, and proceeded to plant a row of sunflowers along the front walkway, their vibrant yellow faces turning towards the sun, a further act of rebellion against the HOA's rigid rules. The sunflowers were the final straw. Margaret, her face flushed with indignation, called an emergency meeting of the HOA board. The meeting, held in the sterile beige-walled community center, was a tense affair. Residents, their faces etched with concern, voiced their anxieties about the slippery slope that the Davises' actions represented. What if everyone started painting their houses in outlandish colors? What if people began planting vegetables in their front yards instead of ornamental shrubs? Where would it end? Margaret, her voice trembling with righteous anger, proposed a series of escalating fines for the Devises, culminating in a lawsuit if they refused to comply. The board, swayed by her impassioned plea, unanimously approved the motion. The fines began to pile up, each one a stark reminder of the power the HOA wielded. The Devises, however, refused to back down. They responded to each fine with a letter of their own, filled with legal jargon and witty retorts, questioning the legality of the HOA's actions. They even started a blog, Teal House Tales, chronicling their battle with the HOA, their witty observations attracting a growing online following. The blog posts were a thorn in Margaret's side, a constant reminder of her inability to control the narrative. The residents of Oakhaven Pines, initially united in their disapproval of the Devises, began to waver. Some, secretly admiring the Davises' defiance, began to question the necessity of the HOA's rigid rules. Others, fearing the potential for chaos, clung to Margaret's authority, their anxieties fueled by her constant pronouncements of impending doom. The tension in Oakhaven Pines grew, creating a palpable divide within the community. The annual summer picnic, usually a joyous occasion filled with laughter and camaraderie, was a tense affair. Residents, divided into pro-Davis and anti-Davis factions, avoided each other, the air thick with unspoken accusations. The Davises, undeterred by the hostility, hosted their own picnic, a vibrant, chaotic gathering filled with music, laughter, and the irresistible aroma of barbecue. Their picnic, a stark contrast to the sterile, organized event hosted by the HOA, attracted a diverse crowd, including some of Oakhaven's more adventurous residents. The division within Oakhaven Pines was not just about the color of a house or the placement of sunflowers. It was a battle between two opposing philosophies: conformity versus individuality, order versus chaos, control versus freedom. The Davises, by simply being themselves, had forced the residents of Oakhaven Pines to confront their own beliefs, to question the very foundations of their carefully constructed world. One evening, a group of children, drawn by the vibrant colors and the sounds of laughter, wandered into the Davises' backyard. They were greeted with warm smiles and offered slices of watermelon and homemade cookies. The children, initially hesitant, soon found themselves playing games and laughing alongside the Davises' children. The sight of the children, their faces filled with unadulterated joy, had a profound effect on some of the residents who were observing from their own yards. They realized that the Davises, despite their unconventional ways, were not the monsters they had been made out to be. They were simply a family like any other, seeking to live their lives in a way that brought them happiness. Slowly, subtly, the tide began to turn. Residents, emboldened by the children's acceptance of the Davises, began to engage with them, offering friendly greetings and engaging in casual conversations. The Davises' garden, once a symbol of rebellion, became a gathering place, a vibrant hub of community life. Margaret, however, remained unmoved. She saw the growing acceptance of the Davises as a betrayal, a sign of weakness. She doubled down on her efforts to enforce the HOA's rules, issuing more fines and sending out increasingly threatening letters. The Davises, in response, decided to take their fight to the next level. They organized a town hall meeting, inviting all the residents of Oakhaven Pines to discuss the future of the community. They presented a compelling case for reform, arguing that the HOA's rigid rules stifled creativity and individuality. The town hall meeting was a turning point. Residents, many of whom had never questioned the HOA's authority, began to see the flaws in the system. They realized that the pursuit of perfection had come at the cost of individuality and community spirit. A vote was held, and the results were clear. The majority of residents voted to amend the HOA bylaws, loosening the restrictions on exterior paint colors and landscaping. The Davises, their teal house now a symbol of victory, had won. Margaret, her authority shattered, resigned from her position as HOA president. She moved to a gated community in a neighboring town, a place where the rules were even stricter, where the lawns were even greener, where the order was absolute. Oakhaven Pines, however, was forever changed. The Teal House, once a symbol of defiance, became a symbol of hope, a reminder that individuality and community could coexist. The residents, having tasted the freedom of self-expression, embraced the diversity that the Davises had brought to their community. The sunflowers, once a symbol of rebellion, bloomed brightly, their faces turned towards the sun, a testament to the enduring power of individuality. The Oakhaven Pines, once a symbol of conformity, became a place where the residents could express themselves, a community that celebrated the beauty of diversity. The legacy of the Teal House lived on, a reminder that even the most meticulously planned communities could be transformed by the power of individuality.